Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down the 6 game NBA slate here in DraftKings, going over some of my favorite early look core plays, as well as doing a game by game breakdown, setting us up for success tonight with all the information we need to have that success. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Check out my prize pick video, which will be out after this. We're on a 9-1 streak there. Should have been 10-0, but that Luca whole horror ordeal with Luca was just so annoying. But yeah, let's get into this breakdown. Before we get into the breakdown, just want to do a quick little recap of my lineup. And if you guys don't like tilting, I'd say just fast forward for the next minute or two. Not going to be long, but I just had to vent for a second here, guys. It's just super frustrating because I had the nuts. I literally had the nuts to take down the 15K to first here in this tournament and got absolutely screwed. One of the best plays, GPP plays of the day, if not the best, Anthony Edwards with the team to himself, of course, has a floor game against arguably the best matchup in the league besides the Rockets is the Kings. And of course, a floor game. Why? He goes 0-4 in the first quarter, 2 of 8 at halftime, and in the second half does absolutely nothing. Only shoots 15 times. When before that, he was shooting 20, 25 plus times with the team to himself. But now he's going to shoot 15 times. Why? Because his whole team scored 15 points or more. Literally, look at the box score. They all scored like 15 points, like 9 people on their team. It made no sense. It was just so frustrating. Of course, all I want to do is just run good once. All the games are set up perfectly for me to have a legit shot of a takedown with Anthony Edwards and Nasir a little left, and I just got absolutely screwed. Quickly lost minutes there. He was, pretty popular, but he lost minutes there. He could have got even higher. Same thing with Maxey. Maxey only scored 6 second half points, and he was super, super cheap. Another play where I just, he went for 48. You think that's great, but it's like he could have went legit for like 65 plus. He only scored 6 points in that second half because they just did terrible in the third quarter. They benched all their starters, and their backups brought them back in the game. And what did that do? It pretty much canceled any shot of me having a takedown because guys like Jokic, 30% Jokic, and what should have been a potential blowout game. And they blew him out in the third quarter. Of course, he still plays a whole entire fourth because the backups bring the game back into reach for Philadelphia. So Jokic plays there. He gets the 70-point triple-double. Grimes, another career game. Of course, why not? And then Javon Carter, that's just, if he was 25 to like 35% owned, I get it. But at the ownership, he's just not a good play. He becomes a 3-and-D guy. Even with Drew and Giannis ruled out, he becomes a 3-and-D guy. It's not like he's assuming point guard usage because Middleton becomes their point forward. And then Allen handles the ball as well. So it's like Javon's out there as a 3-and-D guy, and he shoots 6 of 8 from 3. It's like, really? It's just like, I just want to be rewarded once. And I guarantee the one time I finally get rewarded for playing one of the best GPP plays of the slate that's unowned, I will take down the $1 million to first. I guarantee it. So sorry for the ranting, guys, the tilting. It's just people just get the donkeys get rewarded for no reason at all. Grimes, of course, give him another 50 bomb. Jokic, oh yeah, let's just have the backup 76ers go on a 24. Let's just have Maxey who's nuking the slate, really low ownership. Let's just have them do absolutely nothing in the third quarter, score 3 points. And then the backups for the 76ers, they go on a 25-0 run to bring the game back, and Jokic is just still in playing 50 minutes. It's just stuff like that. It's like, how do the donkeys run that good? But then Anthony Edwards, arguably the best play of the day, I just don't get rewarded. It's just like, you just can't make it up. But yeah, guys, sorry for that tilting. I just had to. It's just so frustrating how good donkeys run these days. But yeah, moving on to this 6-game slate here. So at first glance of the slate, obviously we're going to want to get a lot of our pieces from Charlotte there with the potential injury news, as well as Memphis with most likely no Ja Morant. So keep that in mind. That's where we're going to want to build our pieces from. And then I do like attacking these first 3 games. Not a lot of people are going to go to them, so we can definitely get some contrarian pieces there and some pretty low-owned pieces. People are just going to want to stick to the last 3 games just because they're a lot better game environments. So definitely keep that in mind. And then with Boston here, not much interest me besides Tatum and Robert Williams. Everyone's kind of priced up. I'd say like $500 too expensive because Tatum got ruled out last game, so it was pretty much the Jaylen Brown show. And then the guards did pretty well with White, Brogdon, Smart. They all did decent. So they're all priced up because Tatum was out. So at their price tags, they just become contrarian options. I don't think there's a need to get to any of them. Sure, you can land like a Brogdon or Smart, and sure, they could have like a 35 to 40 fantasy point game. Wouldn't surprise me, but it's just you're kind of reaching there, and there's blowout risk here. So right now, it's really only Tatum for me and Robert Williams. Hopefully he starts. If he does, he should see about 20-ish minutes. Uh, Probably back closer to his 30-ish minute mark. So I like him a good amount there. And then Tatum looks pretty solid at 10-4. On the Washington side, it's just one of those things where if you think this game stays close, it's going to be because of Porzingis and Denny. They're going to be leading the team there in the minutes and usage. And then they'll probably get them at pretty low ownership because people are going to all flock to these other games here and not want to play them in this spot here because I think it's the biggest spread on the slate is this game. So there's that low risk there. You could definitely get these guys at low ownership and be contrarian. So it could definitely help you out. In terms of the news here, Morris, Gafford are questionable. If there's no Morris, DeLon Wright should start. He looks solid there at 5,400. One of those guys who could stuff the stat sheet should see anywhere from like 30 to 35 minutes. Kispert's been starting. I guess he's okay. Just don't trust him because he's scoring dependent. And then Gafford, if he's out, they could either start like a Goodwin, who would be a solid play there at 4,700. He'd still see minutes in a blowout. And then maybe they go to a guy like Anthony Gill if they want to go a little bit bigger. He'd be a decent value play there at 3,200. More of a 3-and-D guy. Won't play in a blowout, but if the game stays close, he could definitely get you there at 3,200. Moving on to Miami here, another team where another game environment, I guess, where it's just not the best game environment. Miami plays slow. Toronto doesn't play that fast as well, so not a lot of people are going to go to this game just like that first game. So you can definitely get these guys at low owned prices. So I don't mind Butler, Bam, or Tyler. If I had to get to one, it'd probably be Bam. He's a pretty cheap price tag there, even though Jimmy's probably been the most consistent the past month. So yeah, I have some interest in them. The injury news: Kyle Lowry's questionable. If he's out, Vincent should start. He's been god awful, but you could definitely go to him at 4,000. Should see anywhere from like 22 to 35 minutes, depending on how he's playing. That's kind of his range. It's all over the place. Victor Oladipo, I think he'd be my favorite play there off the bench. Should hopefully see mid 20s if there's no Kyle Lowry. So I do like Victor Oladipo a good amount if there's no Kyle Lowry. And then Caleb Martin, I think he's a solid play here. Another one of those kind of energy guys that can definitely go out there and get you there. So I don't mind him. It's really right now, it's just kind of the cheaper guys for me, maybe some Bam. Moving on to Toronto. On the Toronto side, really the only standout to me is going to be Scotty Barnes here, 6,200. He's had some down games, just some bad shooting games. A game where he got thrown out, which wasn't too involved, but we know the upside there. As you can see here, close game should see 35 plus minutes. This game environment kind of fits him, kind of more of a slow, get some rebounds, assists, score some points. So I do like him here. I think it's a solid matchup for Scotty. I don't mind, getting to Siakam and Van Fleet as, contrarian spin ups, but I think right now Scotty's my favorite. I think Portal looks pretty decent, should have to guard Bam. So he should be in line for at least 30 minutes, has double upside. OG, I don't want to chase him. He's been scoring dependent recently. Trent and Barton are questionable. If they're out, it's just more minutes for the starters, as well as, Boucher becomes viable off the bench. Should see about 20-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more. They'll throw some minutes to Koloko and some other random guys like a Precious, but I don't think there's a need to get to them. Moving on to Cleveland and Atlanta. Great game environment here for Cleveland. The big news here is going to be Allen and Okoro. If there's no Allen, it's just obviously more of a bump to Mobley, who goes to the center. He would look great. Obviously, Garland and Mitchell would look great as well. And they'd probably start either Levert and Okoro if he's in, or they'll start Levert and Lamar Stevens. So yeah, there's some interesting news there. If Levert starts, I guess you could tell him. I still don't love him, playing alongside Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell. They're all going to be the options over Levert, but he could definitely get you there. But it just kind of mess up the whole usage there. And then off the bench, we could see Ricky and Seti, who'd be great values there, 3,600 and 3,400. They'd be in line for pretty solid minutes. And then Lamar Stevens, I guess you could take a shot on him if he moves in the starting lineup. Could pay it off, but still, he's just more of just a defensive kind of guy. So I don't love it there. Maybe we get some wild news where they start like a Windler. But yeah, there's a good amount of interest here. You just kind of see how the injury news plays out. But I love those guys in this matchup against Atlanta. On the Atlanta side, not lots like here. We know Cleveland's pretty solid defensively. It helps if there's no Allen, the rim protector Allen. It helps if he's not there for guys like Trae Young and DeJounte who like to drive. I think I prefer getting DeJounte here just because of a cheaper price tag, but they both look solid as contrarian spend ups. Capella should see about 30-ish minutes. I think it'd help a little bit more if there's no or if there is Allen. It should solidify some more secure minutes for Capella. But yeah, we know he's upside there. It's just, does he see 30 minutes? If he does, he should easily be able to pay off his price tag. In terms of the wings, I think Hunter would be my favorite to take a shot on. Bogdan is pretty solid GPP play. The minutes aren't a guarantee. And then Okongwu should see the backup center run if you think Capella gets in foul trouble for some reason or just does bad. They'll look to Okongwu. Moving on to Charlotte, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, we're gonna have to look to Charlotte for a good amount of pieces because there's potentially no Hayward and no Oubre. Now, if those guys are in, they're gonna start Washington, Hayward, Dennis Smith, Oubre, and probably Nick Richards. And then Nick Richards at his price tag, if you guys didn't know, the Hornets for the rest of the games for the season are gonna start, or they're gonna play Richards, Mark Williams, and Kai Jones at the center position, and they're gonna rotate them where two guys play in one game, another sits out, and kind of just go like that for the rest of the games for the season. So for this game, Richards and Kai Jones will be the centers. Mark Williams will sit. So Richards is price tag, love him there, 4,700. Kai Jones, his minutes aren't a guarantee, even though he technically is going to be playing in the backup center. But I guess he looks like a decent value player there at 3,000. But still, he has a very, very low floor, and his minutes aren't a guarantee. Richards should start. If he's doing well and staying out of foul trouble, they're just going to ride him. He should see solid minutes. So, yeah, I prefer getting to him over Kai Jones, but I guess Kai Jones is a very cheap value option. And then if there's, if no Hayward or Oubre, I wouldn't be surprised if they, rule out like a Dennis Smith. And then we could definitely look to guys like Mikhail Luke off the bench, or he'd probably slide in the starting lineup. Off the bench, we'd see Theo and McGowan's, who'd be pretty solid value plays. I think I prefer McGowan's. He's a little bit more of a playmaker, can do a little bit more. But yeah, I think they both look pretty solid. If there is no Oubre and Hayward and potentially no Dennis Smith Jr. On the OKC side, SGA looks great if he plays. If he's out, it's just obviously a bump to Giddey, Williams, and Dort. Joe would probably start. He looked decent as a value play there. Kind of a more 3-and-D guy. But yeah, 4,400. He looks pretty solid. Jalen Williams, you could definitely take a shot on him as a center play, but I don't think there's a need to. And then I guess they'd probably slide one of these random guys in the starting lineup. It's just, I hate messing with the value Thunder. They're just terrible. But right now, really like Jalen Williams there. And then moving on to Orlando, not much I like here. I think Fultz, Paolo coming in at solid price tags and a decent matchup. There should be no Ja, so this game should have the potential to stay close and be a solid game. So yeah, everyone's kind of priced about right. Moving on to Memphis, obviously, as I mentioned, most likely no Ja. So Tyus Jones, just too cheap here at his price tag. Excuse me. We know the upside there. That's a huge bump for Bane and Jaren Jackson with no Ja. They're going to step up. Really like Bane as price tag, but Jaren Jackson Jr. obviously has a huge ceiling as well. But right now, I prefer just Tyus and Bane. Tillman, Brooks, Luke, all solid value plays. I'm pretty sure Luke Kennard will probably be one of the highest owned guys on the slate because people are just going to chase his box score. But yeah, I mean, he should be in line for mid-20s minutes. I don't expect him to continue shooting 50% or better from three, but he's definitely going to see the minutes. He can definitely get you there 4,500. And then Santi looks like a solid value play. Should see about 20-ish, maybe closer to 25 minutes here off the bench. Moving on to the Pelicans and Golden State. Pelican side, another one of those teams where you can just definitely get the main guys at pretty low ownerships in a great matchup. No one likes going to Ingram at his price tag or CJ. So they're there. J Val, 7,700. I could see it being one of those games where J Val just gets pulled or in foul trouble and doesn't see 30 minutes. Now, if you think he sees 30 plus minutes, he's still too cheap here. Obviously has massive upside, but we know it's the Warriors. We know they play small. They could easily get J Val into foul trouble, or they could just run him off the court with him just being too slow to guard them all and not being able to guard the 3-point line. So definitely keep that in mind. This could definitely be a Larry Nance type game. Even though Larry Nance has been god awful because he just hasn't been healthy. But just I wouldn't be surprised or shocked if J Val does not see 30 minutes and just is in foul trouble or only plays like 15 because he just can't guard the 3-point line. In terms of the wings, nothing really interests me besides that. Golden State, Steph looks still just too cheap here at 9,600. Just hasn't flashed a ceiling game recently, but we know it's Steph Curry. Thompson, Green, Poole, all look like decent mid-range options. I prefer Green, but Thompson and Poole have seen some upside there. And then value plays, don't mind Kuminga, don't mind Looney, don't mind Kuminga, don't mind Looney, and don't mind DiVincenzo. Gary Payton will see about 15 minutes. Don't think there's a need to go to him yet. That does it for the slate breakdown, guys. Make sure to hit that like button. Check out my Twitter if you guys have any questions, want any updates on the core plays with the injury news. And then, yeah, make sure to check out my price video. So see you guys.